we could review Ireland v West Indies. The second T20 international was happening today that was rained off.
I think we should. I think I'd like
Yeah.
that.
So match a band without a ball being bowled.
Mhm.
Um, and it was officially called off at 4:20. Um, I think it's due to the outfield by the looks of it.
So we just missed the
We just missed a
abandonment.
cut-off point. Yeah, yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, which is yeah, it was looking promising originally when Cricket Ireland were like, oh look at the pitch and the ground, let's get going, and then it didn't happen. So so much for our Ireland and West Indies reaction. That's also the second game in the row this series that was washed out. So bit devastated,
Yeah,
really.
just not, just not CritPod Instagram
Oh, yeah. Have you got any other
TikTok.
news?
No, I think that's it. We can call it a day.
Okay, that's fine. We'll be back at some point to review the next, maybe the third T20 between Ireland and West Indies. Um, Nah, let's talk about the World Test Championship, shall we, Jamie? Because if I quote you, you said earlier
Hmm.
you hadn't been so invested in a test match or just guess generally cricket in a long time. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
that is correct.
Still feeling that vibe, that buzz?
I mean, I chilled out now, so
Yeah.
like,
So, I mean, just to quickly go over it, I mean, I don't understand who listens to this and wouldn't know this, but so South Africa just won the World Test Championship final by 5 wickets. Australia all out in first innings, 212. South Africa got 138 their first innings. Australia then put on 207, setting 282 to win, which South Africa did five down. That's as far as I'm going to go with actual stats for this pod. Um, but, just initial reactions. Great.
whoa,
Australia LeMayo or lol or ruffle.
all of the above.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously we're incredibly neutral when it comes to this game.
Mhm.
But I'm incredibly glad South Africa won.
I mean, it's their first international trophy, isn't it? Or is it
Not
not?
quite. So their last trophy came when they won the Champions Trophy
Mhm.
in 1998. So there's been 9,722 days between their two ICC titles. But this one feels much more substantial than the Champions Trophy.
Yeah, so basically the first one they've
Yeah, of
ever won.
note.
Yeah.
And especially the first one since obviously they've had the tag of being, chokers or I don't know, the Spursiness of international
Mhm.
cricket. So the fact that they were able to, put all those kind of previous, they got to a final of the World T20 last year. I remember in 2015 they were in the semi-final of the World Cup there. It looked like they were destined to go on and win that and
Mhm.
didn't. It's it's just felt like a long time coming. They've always been the nearly team and always just being well, renowned for choking. So to see them cross the line now is super hype.
Yeah, and
I'm
it
saying this
when
very calmly.
yeah, I mean you've let all of your excitement out earlier.
Yeah.
You went to Australia earlier just to go shout at
Yeah.
random Australians.
My voice is hoarse.
Yeah,
There's only
exactly.
one Australian who lives here, but I do yell at him.
Good. And so you should. But like when you continually make semi-finals and finals, like it's going to come eventually. They've had the consistency even in various formats.
Hmm.
And like it's a good thing that it's sort of spread across those formats. It's not been sort of focused on one thing, say in the way that England kind of do.
Yeah.
They've been consistently good in all formats, and that's only benefited them in the long run in the wider scheme of things.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of stuff in context of South Africa in the last few years, I think, which I think everyone all widely knows, in that they put all their eggs into kind of a T20 basket a couple years, 2 or 3 years ago with the SAT20, which was basically marketed or not marketed as seen as a way for them to really financially support them as a cricket board. So I think there was a worry concern that they might end up slightly the way West Indies are kind of sliding
Mhm.
in that, you know, a lot of their players would just move on to franchise cricket life and move away from West Indies. I mean, I don't want to generalize West Indies and the stuff that's going on there, but there was a sense that they might kind of slip from being such a big kind of cricket powerhouse you think of like the Graham Smiths and the
Mhm.
Jacques Callis and maybe De Villiers, and it's sort of the worry that they're going to be start sliding. So they put all their eggs in this kind of franchise basket, which then also coincidentally led to them. I think within this test cycle, it might have been the previous one. I can't
Mhm.
remember what year we're on. Who are we? But they had sent basically a B team to New Zealand, which was part of the Test Championship,
Mhm.
or it might have been bilateral, but one of the two. I think it was Test Championship. In order to prioritize all their first team players for the SAT 20, so they would get the biggest revenue and pull and
Mhm.
that kind of vibe, and then send the reserves basically to the Test series in New Zealand. So and then I think from that it's kind of really strengthened the board. I mean, from that
Mhm.
from that sense to not prioritizing a Test series to then going on to win the Test Championship, I think that kind of short term thing of like we need to quickly prioritize this, get cricket in the forefront of South Africa again, and then I guess I don't think it's necessarily you'd say it's quite quick to say that's a quick fix to now, but I think it's a
Mhm.
big step forward in that, financially they've been able to support the board and being able to have players commit to South Africa rather than franchise cricket, I think goes in this, it's a short step to now, but I think that's in a long term, I think that can only be good for South Africa. I think that went a bit rambly there, but in the sense that they were able to find some kind of, you know, backing
Mhm.
within South Africa cricket to support them going forward, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Like even in the last couple of weeks, what was it? Heinrich Klaasen retired
Yeah, a
from
couple of weeks ago,
international
yeah.
cricket. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if he was in the test setup really, but I know there was some talk about like maybe he's got eye on franchise cricket and like
yeah,
that's the best revenue maker for cricket players. So
yeah,
if
hugely.
that's like the way they think their playing career is the best
Yeah.
forward, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think I guess Safka would be hopefully looking at things. Winning this as well is going to help them massively financially as well. But I think cricket boards just want to be in a position where they can have their players commit to playing
Mhm.
international cricket rather than feeling the need to go and play franchise cricket. So I think Clarkson was originally planning to hopefully play in the World Cup, the next 50 over World
Mhm.
Cup, because he's very much one of the best white ball players in the world, no shadow of a doubt. But I think the new coach for South Africa. Um, I forget his first last name, but Conrad was saying that you have to commit to South Africa or you're not playing at all, basically. And I think that was the same with Norkia. I think
Mhm.
like, I think he's not being pulled out of like any kind of South Africa sides, but he was very much I think fit and available for this game, but wasn't in the squad because he hadn't been part of the team leading up to this. And I think that makes sense. I think that's a fair thing. So I think he probably would have got on the side as well. But just as a quick stat attack, in terms of the kind of togetherness of this team, with Bavuma, so as Test captain, he's played 10 games as captain, Temba Bavuma, and he's won nine and drawn one, which I think is pretty good to be unbeaten, especially one of those being a final.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Just double that. Keep going.
Keep going, keep pushing on it. But I can't remember how many games because then we're not a stat team, and that was quite foolish of me to actually bring a stat into this pod. But I think they had to win like four or five of their remaining games in the Test Championship cycle to qualify for the final. And I
Mhm.
think they had Pakistan and Sri Lanka. I think one of the teams that aren't in England, Australia, and
Yeah.
India. Um, and they had to win all of them to qualify. And there's all the chat being like, oh, but they didn't play India, oh, but they didn't play Australia, blah blah blah. But that you can only win what's ahead of you, and the fact that they won all those games as well, I think is testament to this team and the way that they're building, and the way that they won this game is just showcase they completely deserve to be there.
Yeah, like I don't particularly subscribe to the you can only beat what's in front of you
Hmm.
because when it comes to like uh knockout competition, if you get an
Yeah.
easier run to the final, I personally I think that's more detrimental. I think you should want to play against the stronger teams
Oh, for sure.
anyway because it prepares you for the bigger game. But Test cricket is kind of weird in that
Yeah.
you expect to lose a game at some point in some way,
Yeah.
and to go unbeaten for 10
Yeah.
matches is just mental.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even Australia were massive favourites to win this game, and
Hugely.
going
Yeah.
into the last session, they were still big favourites. It was it's like the second highest run chase, something like that. It was a It's a
We're not a
big
stats team.
no, like I'm
Um,
pulling that out of my ass. It was a big run
it's the
chase.
second highest chase at Lords.
Yeah. So like South Africa weren't necessarily expected to win
Yeah,
that from the position they were in.
yeah,
And like look where we are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, I guess we talk about South Africa as a sense first, and then we'll move on to Australia, which I'll enjoy more probably, or maybe equally. Um, I guess I think shout out first of all because I think he's very close to being man match. I mean, it wasn't in the end, but Rabada in this game, 9 wickets, nine for not many, um, was just class,
Mhm,
and not to be confused with Klaassen, was just class in the game. So first innings, 5 for 51, when they bowled out Australia for 212, and then he got 4 for 59 in the second innings. Um, the pitch was weird. It did like a full 180 in that,
mhm,
like to start with, it looked the most unplayable thing in the entire world, and then suddenly the last couple of days it's been flat. So it's a bit strange. Normally it'd go the other way around.
mhm.
But I think that's kind of the same as it has been for Middlesex this season. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a funny old wicket, but it's fun to see. But no, Rabada's class, and I think he's moved up to fourth, I think, in all-time South Africa leading wicket
Mhm,
takers. I think he went above Alan Donald. I may be completely getting names mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that was the stat. Um, but he's also a kind of bowler that I think is one of the best. But like you always look at it, it's not like kind of express pace, or it's not
mhm.
like extravagant swing or anything like that. It's just good.
Yeah, yeah. It's just top
Yeah,
quality. And you're like even without that express pace or like that sort of he does have X factor, but it's not
yeah,
that sort of explosive, oh shit, something
yeah,
bad's gonna happen. It's you get
for sure.
excited before he comes on because you know he's gonna do something. He's gonna kick the game into gear somehow.
So, yeah. He's 100% one of my favorite bowlers to
Mhm,
watch bowl, to be honest. Like and it feels like he's still only just started. I know he's 30, but I feel like he only debuted not long ago. And just this quick look at his stats, he's played 71 tests, which I think for a South African cricketer with the current state of everything is a lot of tests.
mhm,
336 wickets at an average of 21, and that includes 17 fifers and 4 tenthers. And it just feels like he's a player that's never dipped. I'm
mhm,
sure there's been bits where he's not been at the height, but I always feel like he's always in the game. He's never really, I think that average kind of proves it at 21. But that's kind of Bumrah levels of averages as well, you know? Like that is not, that's exceptional for a fast bowler. Like I think, it's just, we'll talk about another fast bowler later, but like, just good.
yeah. Whenever we do the fantasy league in the World Cups, he's always the one I'm like, how do I get Rabada in? How much
Yeah.
money do I
Yeah.
need to save for Rabada? Because he'll get me points.
Yeah. And it's the extra kind of experience as well now, which is
Hmm.
fun. Like, because Janssen, I think, is also a quality bowler, but I think he is quite off the ball a little bit this game. And Nagidi didn't turn up, I don't think, in the
Hmm.
first innings. But then second innings obviously came back with free for. But the fact that Rabada was able to carry the team in that first innings to get them into competitive position, it's just testament to the kind of experience he's got as a player as well now. Um, just great. I mean, and anything else on Rabada other than being good?
I like him. He's good.
He's good. He's a good lad. Um, uh, I think other notable shout outs, I guess. Mentioned Janssen again off the ball, but still got 349 in the first innings. A couple of wickets to Markram, who will obviously come back to. And then Ngidi got 3 for 38 in that second innings and completely blew that game wide open. Like Australia, who we'll get to, um, had a lead of what, 80, 70 in the first innings, something like that. Yeah, around that. And then it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
yeah, the second day, because it felt like it was going to be over yesterday. And it wasn't. Um, but then the game was completely blown wide open, wasn't it? And like Australia at one point was 7 for 73 after at one stage, I think being about 100 ahead for no wickets. Um, just completely blew game, completely
Mhm.
wide open. And that was largely down to Ngidi when he got Smith out LBW. And then Webster and Cummins. It was just that kind of that evening session. I think quite famously between ourselves, you missed a lot of the kind of crazy bits.
Yeah. I had to miss, I think, the entire morning sessions of day one and two, half of day
Mhm.
three.
Yeah,
I missed the third session, like the opening hour of the third session,
Yeah,
day one and two, and a lot of the mad shit
the mad
happened
stuff. It.
there. I remember specifically, I think I missed like 5 wickets. It was that I think it was that spell you were just talking about.
Yeah, yeah. That
And
was
I
just
yeah,
ridiculous. Yeah,
and I get
it
back
felt
and
like it was.
nothing happened.
Yeah. It just felt like a wicket was going to happen. It's very cliche, but it felt like a wicket was going to happen every ball. It was
Mm,
just this weird like sense of just loads of stuff happening. And then Alex Carey came out and played really good knock, I thought. But like it was suddenly every ball. Like Mulder then got a head out with a one that absolutely jagged from nowhere. It's like, how is this test not going to be over by
yeah.
lunchtime on day three?
Mhm.
It was just chaos. I think 28 wickets in the first 2 days, I think, which is just mad.
Yeah.
Um, but then you come to the fact that they have to chase after Stark and Hazelwood make the pitch look absolutely flat yesterday morning. South Africa then has to chase 282, which we obviously know they did, largely down to the fact that Markram and Bavuma put on well over 100 in the end. Um, Again, we're not a stats thing, but it was a good chunk. 130, 140, something like that. Mark with 136, he got out in I think 2 or 3 overs to go in the actual game.
Mhm.
Bavuma 66. Um, and just looked great. I mean, again, I'm not sure what bits you saw, but like the day one when they were batting was just so awful. Like because they weren't going anywhere. They were like 40 for four, and they were just going about felt like one and over. They felt like they're just trying to bat out until day two and hope for the
Mhm.
best. Whilst yesterday immediately it was like proactive. We're going to try and steal ones, get ones and twos, go about 3 or 4 and over. And I thought they just batted exceptionally. It was just great.
Yeah, I think rather fortunately, I came in yesterday on the Friday. I think it was day three.
Hmm.
I came back to watch the Bavuma Markram
Yeah,
partnership.
yeah,
So that was pretty good. And
yeah,
it's just like throughout the whole of Markram's innings, there was no like overplaying, overhitting,
yeah,
just very calm, collected shot. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. It was just always in control. There was a
Felt very
point,
chanceless. Yeah,
yeah, there was a point today where he was just like, I'm just gonna single. I'm just gonna get another single. I
yeah,
think on comms they were saying these last 3 overs, whatever time in the day it was, he's only faced 7 balls, but he's got a
yeah,
single off every delivery. Like
yeah,
that's someone who knows they're in the lead and in control, and
yeah,
he's going to take all of the pressure off his partner and just
yeah.
see them
Just
home.
busy. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's in the Mark rooms of old. Like I feel like he was a bit more of a slasher and a smashy smash player originally. So the fact that he's really kind of molded himself as a player. I mean, he got a duck in the first innings as well. So to come back and then get 136 to win the game in this innings is just exceptional.
And you
But like you
could
say,
kind of see those like little smashy
yeah,
smashes like come
yeah,
out in his game a couple of times.
yeah,
But it's almost like he sort of reeled that back in of like, wait, no,
yeah.
no
This is we
marks. We've
can't.
got
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
We
yeah, yeah. Like there's that one shot we played against Lyon, I think, which was just
Mhm.
a real slash. And then like it felt he only really kind of let himself go at the very end. Like he
Yeah.
started giving a few like when the game was very much definitely won. He also gave a smash, and then Hazelwood took the new ball, and then like it felt like every ball he was facing, he was just trying to like smash,
Mhm.
and that's like okay, fair enough. Like
Yeah.
you've earned that at this point. Um, and obviously the pitch was much easier to bat on yesterday. I mean that has to be said. It did look absolutely flat. The fact he had Hazelwood and Stark pretty much play out the opening session um, did help, I guess, in the terms of Bavuma and Carey part no Carey, Bavuma and Rickleton. What am I talking about? Markram and Bavuma partnership. I'm looking at all these other names who are popping up. Um, but just busy, and especially when Bavuma was like basically on one leg.
Hmm.
Like that entire, I think he's less so today. He didn't stay as in as much, but the fact he was like kind of hopping every single yesterday,
Yeah.
like he could have easily have been a player to retire hurt, or just come out and try and smash it and get as many as he can. But the fact he stuck it out was just like it felt like one of those kind of defining captaincy
Yeah.
stories.
And
Like
from
he
what
was,
it sounds like from like Markram and one of the coaches, it was his decision to stay out there. I
yeah,
think one of the coaches was saying like, no, you should come
yeah,
off, at least have a break or something. But
yeah,
yeah, I think. Markram's innings will get talked about a lot, and
Hmm.
he deserves the man of
Yeah,
the match
yeah,
trophy and everything. But I think that Bavuma innings was just different class.
yeah,
Like technique wise and mentality wise, it was just
yeah,
so enjoyable to watch.
yeah. I thought he batted really well in the first innings as well. He got like 36, I think, first dig.
Hmm.
And some of the shots out, he plays so many like lofted cover drives, like against people like Stark, Cummins, and Hayes. Like it just was
Yeah.
great. And obviously, a lot has been always said about him and his stature, and he's a small player and stuff. But the amount of power he gets behind the ball as well
Mhm.
was just like he's a classy player to watch as well.
Yeah.
He's just it's the fact he's really just really upped his game, especially in the last few years, and especially with the captaincy. Like his average is just going up and up and up. I think he averages 50 or something at five. I mean, he's batting
Hmm.
at four in this game, but you can just see his development as a player is just going higher and higher, which
Hmm.
is it's just really great to see. But I agree. I thought it's great to watch him play. He was obviously dropped. He could have been 70 for three at one stage. And then Smith dropped one and dislocated his finger because the pitch was very slow and the edges weren't carrying. But I mean, yeah, I mean, even I said it. I know people will talk about the fact that the pitch went flat and it's much easier to bat on, which it was, but they were still having to chase 280 to win a final with the backdrop of them being South Africa against arguably the best bowling attack in the world. Um, the amount of pressure that would have been on and to be effectively chanceless apart from that one drop is just hats off
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, and that's just test match cricket. Like the pitch is going to get flat at, well, you in most cases at some point.
Yeah. Hmm.
So you can't even really complain about, oh, South Africa had the best of
Yeah.
conditions because you can always flip it to the being like, oh, well, X team had the best of the bowling
Yeah.
conditions, which I think both teams had that, to be fair.
They both had, yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah.
So like, I, it's just that sort of balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's really weird because I think up till yesterday, I would have said it was two excellent bowling sides versus one inexperienced batting side and one
Hmm.
aging batting side, um, who aren't quite at their best. I still kind of back that in that these two bowling sides are probably two right up there with the best.
Hmm.
Um, But I think batting wise, I think the way Barkram and Bavuma came out yesterday was almost like they had the first innings of the warm up, and then yesterday was like, oh yeah, this is how we play Test cricket.
Hmm.
Because I think Test cricket batting is very much declining. Obviously, we've talked about franchise cricket and stuff, um, and you can argue that's why Bazball is the way they're coming out the way they can because they don't back themselves to bat in the same way they would have done 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, But I think the way they played yesterday and today was just classic test match batting, whilst the rest of the game felt very frenetic.
Hmm.
And even when they tried to bat out day one, they couldn't, and they were four down for nothing off 20 overs. So it was a weird game in that sense. But I loved it. I was kind of watched very much all of it, I think, or at least follow the
Yeah.
commentary and stuff. It felt like pinnacle test cricket, and it felt it felt like this is what a final should be. And it felt the venue felt completely right as well. Don't know. I just think top marks all around, honestly.
Yeah. It's weird. Like I felt an urge to follow this game and try and watch as much as possible
Yeah,
more than any England game in like the
yeah,
last year maybe.
yeah.
And
I mean, yeah. I
like
I know we tacked on.
I'm
Gone.
not completely sure why that was either. Maybe it was to have like actual insight for the pod instead
Yeah,
of just rambling nonsense.
and then watch it and be like, oh, actually, it's all right.
Yeah.
Um, I think guess because we trying to force the context of it being a final, I suppose, and still feels a bit weird to have one random test way out of any other test series,
Mhm.
especially both of these sides, to then define something that's been happening for 2, 3 years. I still wonder if there's a different way they could do it. But in terms of this, I think this is definitely the best test final there's been. Um, because the first one was affected by COVID. It was played behind closed
Mhm.
doors. Australia absolutely pumped India last time. But then this one felt like even today, when they only needed 69, I sort of like, if Australia get two early, I still
Yeah.
wouldn't. bet against them getting some reverse swing, and then they've kind of awkwardly got back to new ball.
Yeah.
When Bavuma edged early on, I was like, oh,
hmm Yeah,
this could be
it should
interesting.
not have been as nervous
No,
as the score suggested it
yeah,
should have otherwise been.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I mean, it was obviously always, it should have always been that way. I
Mhm,
mean, it made sense. So great for South Africa, and it's quite interesting to see how they go on from now, honestly.
mhm.
One of the other big talking points before this game and now after this game is that in their home summer, they don't have any Test cricket this year, which is bizarre.
I mean, they're just
Um,
gonna all let it all sink in. They're just gonna have a
yeah,
massive WTC final
yeah,
party. Who need like you've completed Test cricket now. It's fine. You can
sorted
just
now.
have a
Yeah,
bit of a chill.
I imagine that there will be some quick scratching of the boards to try and quickly get a random bilateral series in there somewhere. But
I mean,
it
they're
does
in
feel very
England
odd.
now, so like, why not? Just
Spain have won. Yeah,
yeah, just lads, you're already here. Do you want
yeah.
a quick
Our
game?
game.
Just a one-off.
I think the year after they've got, I think it's they're doing like a blockbuster summer or something. I may have read this wrong, but I think it's Australia and England are touring them, which would obviously be pretty huge.
Mhm,
But it does feel like they're missing, almost missing the kind of wave of them just winning the thing to then not have any Test cricket this summer. It feels a bit bizarre. But you never know. Maybe they'll figure something out. I know that the women have a Test match in the summer, which will be a good showcase for them if there's no men Test cricket. But it does feel as though there should be something from this team in their summer, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, the next World Test Championship cycle starts on Tuesday. Um, I can't quite remember who it's against um, because we haven't got all the latest fixtures because we're still looking at the World Test Championship. Maybe it's Pakistan, Bangladesh. That's like something that's popping up. Maybe not. I don't know. It'll be
Let's just
someone.
assume it is. It's definitely Pakistan,
It's Pakistan and
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Oh, who else would it be? Who else is playing? Australia going to go play West Indies at the end of this month, I think.
Mhm.
England have got India on next week, 20th maybe.
It
I
feels like
think next
next
week.
week, but I'm not sure.
Let's say they're the next game on Tuesday, which it
Yeah.
definitely isn't. Um, but yeah, that will start all over again, and then we'll be wondering who's going to win the next one. I think it's been confirmed that England are going to be hosting the next three finals of
hmm
this, and I think. I know we're very biased of here we are sitting in England and in a neutral game in for this, but I do think England is the best place for a neutral venue just for the love of Test cricket in England
Yeah.
comparatively to other countries.
And we all know it will be three neutral venues.
Yeah.
Like England aren't getting
There's
that.
no doubt about that.
It doesn't make sense from like a logistical travel point of view. Like
No,
it would have
no.
been nice to have this, say in India, but like there are political issues currently there where why they wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to do that. But it would be nicer to for like the fans flying over to not fly as far as like the other
Yeah.
side of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Like, but like there's logistical points of having to schedule it in advance and
Yeah.
like I'm sure the players don't give a shit about the
No,
travel,
not at all.
but I think for the fans, it would
Fans,
have
yeah.
it would have been nice to like have it in New Zealand or something.
Yeah.
Just there
Yeah.
isn't much of a flight for either of them. Well, like a bit of a flight for South Africa, but like
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I think the ICC just want to have Test cricket on a marquee, I guess. And I think the guarantee thing in England is they know, even if it's not all the fans traveling over, they know they'll set out a Test match in England. Regardless, that's even if it's not England in it. Like the fact this game was pretty much sold out for all 4 days, and
mhm,
even for this morning when it's probably could have only been like an hour's play, it was still completely full. And I'm not entirely sure you get that anywhere else in the world.
mhm.
You may probably would in India but if that would be very much dependent on India playing. Um, so yeah, we'll see. Um, should we talk about Australia?
Okay, sure. I'm sure it won't be volatile and just
I mean, as
laughing at
everyone
them.
knows, everyone knows that we're neutral when it comes to Australia, and we have a lot of respect for Australia and the way they play and that kind of stuff. Um,
I would just like to say that I don't mind Australia. I really
I
like
don't.
Goodsey Khawaja. I I think the Alex Carey dismissal of Johnny Bairstow was blown way out of proportion and should have been a wicket. I
I'm
think,
so sick of hearing about that though.
yeah,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
still going the fuck on, and I'm pissed off with it. I think Steve Smith is like done really well since Sandpaper Gate. He's like, I think he's like restored his reputation
Yeah.
really well. The bowling attack guys all seem like really good people, even if
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not particularly fond of everyone calling Nathan Lyon Gary.
Yeah.
I do enjoy getting the opportunity to call you Gary when we play for the Whippets, though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun
That's
because
fine.
I know it really annoys you.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I like them. They seem like nice
Yeah,
people. They're
I
very
think,
good at cricket. And, like when Markram got his 100 and eventually got out, all of them went over to shake his hand.
yeah,
They don't have that sort of animosity to them anymore. Like they've obviously got that massive competitive edge, but they're not
yeah.
like trying to bite your throat out or something or
No,
giving you
yeah,
massive, really unnecessary chirps.
yeah. And I feel like that has all been built from Cummins' captaincy as well, you
Hmm.
know? Like, I feel like he's really built this team in his image, in that he's a very decent guy. And, like, I think a lot, like you say, a lot of them are as well. Um, Marnus is annoying, but like he's not like aggravatingly annoying.
Yeah.
Things like, you like to see someone like Kawaja do well, and Travis Head's an exceptional player, and he's won two ICC titles for Australia in the last few years. Cummins is exceptional. He bowled exceptionally well in this game as well. Got six for 20 nothing basically,
Mhm.
and completely ripped apart South Africa's first innings when it looked like they were batting pretty well then as well. Yeah, Stark, Hazelwood, Lyon are all legends in their own right. Smith obviously is great, 6-6 in the game. But I do think they're creaking.
It does feel like they're all not getting on a bit, but they need some fresh legs and
Yeah,
ideas and arms and
yeah. I think Webster is the only player in this team who is below the age of 30.
yeah.
So they could get to a sense where this team suddenly all goes at once, Like
Yeah, you
there's
need to
a
start phasing them out one by one.
yeah, yeah.
Even
Like
like even
Kawaja looked like yeah.
Yeah, like even if we
Go
don't like the Jimmy decision from England,
on.
you can understand
Yeah,
why they made it
yeah,
because well, like
yeah.
Broad retired the year before,
Hmm.
and you're like that, like, and it makes sense. Like you need to start
Yeah,
planning for the future, and you
yeah,
want to still be competitive in the present.
yeah.
So phasing players out bit
Hmm.
by bit makes sense.
Yeah,
And I don't know who Australia, say for the bowling attack, who out of Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood would you phase out first? Who
yeah,
you would say Cummins last because he's the captain, but
yeah.
I don't think it's something they need to do now necessarily. And I'm sure they
No,
are planning for it, but
yeah.
it's something to think about.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to happen quite soon as well. Like either way, when it comes to the Ashes, because everything's about the Ashes.
Mm.
Like either they win it and you have a big exodus from people leaving on the high, or they lose it and then suddenly there's a change of guard and then people are told to on your bike. Like I feel like it's either way. Like it's just signs like Kawaja's definitely one who's probably going to be off soon because he's 38.
No,
Um,
no, Uzi forever.
Or is he forever? But he really struggled in this game. Looked like he just couldn't get bat on ball whatsoever. Marnus is on a completely downward slope in terms of his form. I feel like the way that they've handled their batting order for this game just shows you how muddled the mind is. Just not even just Marnus, but the whole setup in general. Like bringing Cameron Green back, and he's not played a game since March last year, I think. And then suddenly he's batting at three in
Mm.
England, and you're shoving Marnus up to the open, and that very much feels like he has to accept that. Otherwise, he's gone,
Yeah.
Like
It's like,
you're just
oh,
being,
oh God, we don't know what to do. Marnus,
yeah,
and you're
you're
going
gonna have
like,
to do it. You can't say no because otherwise Cameron Green's now batting at three.
yeah.
Like otherwise, there's no place for you in this side
Mhm.
otherwise. So that feels like he's on last legs. Smith recently retired from ODI cricket, so I feel like we're not that far away from that. Cody only just recently retired as well from Test, and he's in that same kind of Fab Four bracket. Head will probably be around for a little while longer. Bo Webster just started. Carey's going to be around there for a while. But that main quartet of bowlers as well. I know it's just one game and it's contextless, but Lyon went wicketless throughout the entire game on the wicket that became quite spin friendly.
Mhm.
And I think that's a concern as well. But I know he's a guy who's
Yeah.
got over 500 wickets. Um, but this is a game where they desperately needed him in that last innings where the spinner should be fully in the game. And he bowled 26 overs, none for 66, and looks quite easy to play most of
Mhm.
the time.
Yeah, I think you have to give some credit to Markram
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
for that. But like, yeah, I was surprised at how fruitless Lions bowling was, or just like how little danger he was posing.
Ineffective.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Whilst I feel like maybe Hazelwood maybe didn't offer as much as the rest, potentially.
Mhm.
Because I feel like Stark can just open a game at any point, whether the new ball or later on, and Cummins is just exceptional. Um, but yeah, I do feel like the creaking is beginning.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do for their West Indies tour, because I imagine Smith is going to be out of that. Um, and then how they line up for the Ashes, whether they stick with Marnus, like do they jettison Marnus and keep Green at free and get a new opener, or bring back Sam Constas? I don't know. Suddenly there's quite a lot more questions. I know it's just one game, but suddenly there's quite a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I think that always happens when you lose, especially when you lose a final.
Yeah, and like I wonder, I'm not sure on his actual stats for the test side, but Scott Boland was, I think he's got the best average against Kohli. And now
Hmm.
that Kohli's retired, he's not going to have that go-to, I'll bring my figures back up against
Yeah.
Kohli sort of.
I mean, he did very well against England as well, I would say, but not so in England. But even Boland's like mid-30s, I think.
Yeah, I think this is more, I'm just really surprised and interested at how well Boland has done against Kohli compared to other bowlers. And it not just well, like fucking brilliantly.
Yeah. He's the Cody specialist.
Exactly. I'm just fascinated with weird stats like the Boland versus
Yeah.
Kohli thing, or like there was a game in 1953 between England and Hungary at Wembley, which
Okay. All
England
right.
lost 6-3.
Uh-huh.
They'd go and play in Hungary a few months later and would lose 7-0.
Yeah.
But it was like those two matches were big sort of turning points and in like even just like kit.
Yeah.
They changed from like the baggy kit to more tighter fitting kits and like tactics, which and like that would eventually lead to the 1966 World
Yeah.
Cup win
Hmm.
because Alf Ramsey was a player in those games and would
Hmm.
obviously go on to manage England in that World
Yeah.
Cup. So that's why I brought the Boland stats up.
I mean, fair enough.
It just odd fascination,
Yeah, sure.
which kind of sums me up, really.
Would you want his other test stats, or are you not bothered?
I'm not bothered.
Okay, fine.
It's not against a specific player and is
Yeah,
not ridiculously better or worse than
sure.
everyone
Fair enough.
else. It's
Yeah.
not that interesting, is it?
Maybe he'll play in the Ashes and have an exceptional record against Root or something, and that'll be fun.
I mean, fun for Australia.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, again, because the Ashes is the only thing that matters, even though we're reviewing the World Test Championship
Hmm.
final, do you think this in any way impacts the Ashes moving forward for Australia? So,
Not massively.
mhm,
I think they look at their batting order and try and find an actual opener.
yeah,
But I think otherwise, you're already so far and you're planning for it.
yeah,
Like, yeah, you're not going to take out any of the bowlers. You're just going to rotate them as
yeah,
they do normally.
hmm. Hope for the
You'd
best.
expect home advantage to be beneficial for them.
Yeah,
And England are sometimes really shit.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And to be honest, for most of this game until that last innings, it felt like Australia were going to win this. If although South Africa threw their punches, it always felt like Australia just had enough ahead. Like I
Yeah.
know Hazelwood and Stark batted very well on a very flat pitch yesterday morning, but it felt like 282 was too many. You know, a lead of 70 or 80 on the first innings was a bit too many. Getting over 200 in the first innings felt like too many. It just always felt like they'd just done enough somehow.
Maybe. I don't think this might be in hindsight, but I don't
Hmm.
think Australia would have been happy with the two scores they posted.
Probably not, no.
Like, I think that's obviously in hindsight, considering they had
Yeah,
280.
yeah,
But like in normal Test cricket context, scoring just over 200
yeah,
is average at best.
yeah,
But I think in like a bit more of a modern Test cricket context where baseball is a thing
yeah, yeah,
and where teams are playing a bit more expansive because of the just how much ODI cricket and T20 cricket they're playing,
yeah,
that those scores are below par.
yeah,
And I think they eventually felt it in the end.
yeah. I think first innings, especially, I mean, both innings they had their wobbles, but they were at one stage in the first innings, I think they were 190 odd for five, and then ended up 212 all out. So that was all completely done in a snap. And then obviously they started appallingly in their second innings where they were already had such a big advantage. At that point, anyway, it looked like a big advantage because the pitch felt like it was unplayable, and they were 80 ahead in the game. Where you had some Australian commentators saying, "Oh, they've already got enough." Like it's like it felt like they had a lot of opportunities where they could have killed the game.
Mhm.
I think this quite, I mean, because I think it's all about England. It was the same in like the last Ashes in 2023. I think we were saying the same criticism about Stokes as England and stuff like that, being like, there's opportunities you have where you could really, take the game by the scruff of the neck and just kill it. And it felt like they didn't take those, even though it felt
Mhm.
like at a lot of stages they were ahead. They were never, miles ahead, or were never at a stage where it felt like they were completely gone in the game. And obviously, we see that they then chased 280. So,
Yeah.
um,
There are weird sort of mirrors to that Headingley Ashes Test match though, where
yeah,
England scored a really, really bad first innings
yeah,
total, which South Africa did this match.
yeah,
Uh, Final innings, Australia threw away their reviews against England. I don't
yeah,
think they threw them away against South Africa. I think they were reasonable reviews to take at the time.
mm,
But there was
yeah,
definitely an LBW decision when they had zero reviews that was
yeah,
umpire's call,
yeah,
or it might have actually been hitting, but
possibly,
it was
yeah,
one of those where they needed a review for that one. That was
yeah.
oh no, it was an edge. I think
There was one when they needed one to
oh
win,
yeah, like
and
that one doesn't matter, but there was
yeah,
one at least sort of dodgy
yeah,
on the edge one they could have
yeah,
used the review for that, but they were out of them. So it feels
yeah,
like those little problems are still under the surface
yeah,
and will come up every now and then, but yeah.
yeah. They did. I mean, a lot's been said a little bit about how Smith wasn't on the field for the fourth innings, and that potentially had some impact into the way that Cummins captained and stuff and their plans. But I don't buy too much of that. I mean,
Like
you've got an
they're
exceptional slip catcher, but
they're
they're all
all
experienced players.
international cricketers. They should
Yeah,
all have some sense of what they're doing and can offer something to Cummins in terms
yeah.
of advice and field placings.
Yeah.
It,
And I think you also have to just take your hat off and be like, they've played exceptionally well. What can you do? I think they bowled better this morning than they did yesterday.
Mhm,
Like, I felt like they had a very much like a plan of being like, we're just going to go good length, kind of, and straight as much as we can and try not to give them anything. And
mhm,
I felt like you could feel a little bit of the pressure cooker this morning when they couldn't really get it away too much. And then you had Bavuma go and be like, okay, you've got that kind of plan. But then suddenly when they let a few wide ones slip and then suddenly they've got 10 more runs off the total, it felt like it was then turned into what it felt like
mhm.
yesterday. But it became a lot more easier to score. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's South Africa's. So GG's. Um, and I think, worthy winners. I mean, Mark as well got two cheeky one for fives with his bowling. You were championing him to bowl earlier yesterday, and then when he came on, he finally got the wicket.
Yeah, I'm very proud that I predicted not one but two Markram moments.
Yeah.
It was yeah. He came on to bowl, and you were like, "Nah, next over Jansen's got it." I was like, but
Yeah.
nah, no, it's Markram's time.
Yeah.
Next over, and then yeah, that happened. And I think
Handy,
we were
yeah.
talking about how weird it was that Lyon's not been as effective this game,
Yeah.
whereas Markram was doing a little bit of the ball.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I was like, he's also going to get 100 here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he
And
did.
there you are.
So,
Well done. You know the Markramness.
yeah, I am cursed in that I miss wickets, but I am blessed in that I can predict whatever Aidan Markram
Random
can
stuff's
do in a
happened.
game.
Yeah. And also, I forgot about this. He also got Smith out in the first innings when he was on
Mhm. Yeah,
66. And that's crucial, you know?
massive game. I think
Yeah.
that's what tips it into like him getting man of the match over Rabada, for example. Like,
Yeah,
obviously,
true.
he got the match winning score, but I
Yeah.
think otherwise it would be a much closer
Yeah.
conversation. But to
Yeah.
get these crucial wickets, the yeah.
Yeah. I think my last thing on the game before we move on is or just move end. But like, um, before that, you had the drop of Smith and drop of Janssen, and when the pitch became much more slow and they had to stand really close. I thought the catching in the field in this game was just great, and I think it's some of the best I've seen in Test cricket in a long, long time. Like I think that first day, especially with South Africa, some of the catches they took in the slips was just like exceptional to watch. There's all the one that Janssen took to get Smith off Markram as well was just so reactionary and just great. I think it was Bellingham, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Bellingham who took the one of Kawaja when he had second slip diving across him, but then still took it really calmly. Markram took a good one off Green. It just felt so good to watch. And I think, when we watch England a lot and sometimes they can be a bit more sloppy, to see like two just excellent fielding sides and excellent bowling sides just give everything in a game. I think it was just great to watch. And I think it was just a real good showcase of Test cricket, blah, blah, blah.
Good match in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what I'll sum it up is it was just quite nice to watch cricket that actually meant something.
Yeah, I was thinking this the other day, like it's very weird. Like Test cricket does eventually build up to this
Yeah.
final, but like in a vacuum, each Test match isn't. It's basically just a friendly exhibition game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you can understand why a professional might not feel as enthused about that
Yeah.
as opposed to the World Cups where there are obvious,
Yeah.
tangible like things to aim for. But I think
Yeah.
this was a very good advertisement for the format.
100%. And just see how much it meant to people and like the atmosphere kicking off at Lords and stuff yesterday and this morning was just great and just have some meaning. When you get it's so shrouded between, like you say, bilateral series, but then also just tons of pointless franchise cricket stuff. Like, this is going on along at the same time as Major League Cricket in the States, which is you can't turn your nose over that. But like just to have, something really contextual and means so much for South Africa, just great. So great. Very much enjoyed. Um, Anything else for you for this final
Um,
before we don't talk about it again?
I don't think so. It was very enjoyable. I we can just not talk about it again. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, what was your highlight to finish off? What did you enjoy most?
I think just Bavuma's innings.
Yeah.
I it was still as technically brilliant as someone not injured would be
Yeah.
able to pull off.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's always just great to watch someone who's clearly hurting.
Yeah.
That's not the good thing.
No.
Still put in as much effort as and commitment as Bavuma did. He's just like it was a real captain's innings, a real you're not winning this unless it's over my dead body sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It just adds such a great narrative, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Like it's not quite the same way as Maxwell when he was literally on one leg against South
Mhm.
Afghanistan. Um, there's also an innings of Graham Smith against Australia when South Africa were batting for the draw and he literally broke his hand.
Mhm.
and he wasn't going to bat any innings, and Australia thought they'd won, and then suddenly comes out at 11 with his like one of his hands just completely like wrapped up, and he can only hold the bat with one hand,
Mhm.
and you can just see the pain when it hits him, and it was just like this is just theatre. This is just great,
Yeah.
the fact that it just matters so much.
Yeah.
It's and you don't get that really. I mean, like I don't know. I guess Maxwell in that case of the
Mhm.
that's still in the World Cup. You don't get anything that's not something that matters, unlike a bilateral or a franchise. You're just not going to get that kind of level of theatre.
Yeah. It was interesting to see his celebration or lack of celebration on the
Yeah, I thought
pavilion
that.
as well. Like
Yeah,
everyone in the background's going
crazy.
mad,
Yeah,
rightly, but he's
yeah,
just sort of very reserved
yeah.
and like, oh, maybe it's like relief, maybe it's disbelief,
Maybe, yeah.
maybe it's just he's completely knackered and his
Maybe
legs really
exhausted.
hurt. Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's quite his character, though. I mean,
yeah,
I've read and listened to a lot about it. I think that he's quite reserved from the group, and was quite like that a lot as a player, but now even more so as captain, which I think is not too bad a quality to have to be able to remove yourself a bit.
mhm,
And I guess, unbeaten in 10 speaks to that in volume.
yeah. Do you have a fave moment?
I think I really love watching Rabada Bowl, so seeing
Mhm.
him get on to get on the home honours board at Lords was great. I think, yeah, I really enjoyed watching Mark from Bavuma back yesterday. The catching, but yeah, Rabada's one of my favourite bowlers to watch. To be honest, I think probably his bowling throughout the match, it just looked like he was completely on it throughout. That was just top stuff to me.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit weird when you're like reading the honors board and it's going like uh Anderson, Wokes, Root, Rabada, Root.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And then you also, yeah, and there'll also be the batting on the balls as well, and it'd be like whether Root, Stokes, Markram.
Yeah,
What a silly game. But I think that wraps up nicely. I mean, it's a reaction episode, but do you have a just not brick?
I mean, it's not particularly cooked, so if you've got something in
I
your
don't
mind,
have
we can go with
anything.
that. Then we'll go with the raw, uncooked bullshit I've got planned for you. So I'm watching an anime at the minute that is uh very focused on the Chinese zodiac and
Yeah,
based on the myth. For
yeah,
that, I then coincidentally like stumbled upon a podcast about the
uh-huh,
Chinese zodiac.
yeah,
And like I'm not just gonna listen to that without knowing what zodiac sign I am. So I went and
sure.
looked that up, water
Yeah.
rooster, if you're
Oh,
interested.
okay. Now I
Yeah.
know.
Which is weird, seeing as we're born in the same year and you being, I think you're the wood dog.
Oh,
Yeah, which is weird. But this site that I used
nice.
specifically had this matching sort of system. So you put name, date of birth in and see how
Yeah.
well they romantically match up.
Okay.
So I thought I'd do that with a couple of celebrity crushes, and they
Yeah.
were, well, I did three, and two of them were awful.
Oh no.
But the one that was 90%
90%.
was Vanessa.
Just for our listeners who won't understand the context usually, that is Vanessa Hudgens of Princess Switch fame.
Yeah, the Princess Switch trilogy.
Yep.
Uh,
90%.
yeah, I thought that was just really funny. And before we came on, in case we didn't have
Yeah.
any other
Yeah.
not correct comment, I did it for you and your wife as well, just to see
Okay.
how well you do.
Are we actually compatible?
I think I don't know which way it would have been funnier. I don't think it would have been funny if you were low percentage
Yeah.
because I'd be like, "Ugh."
Oh, all good.
Yeah, exactly. But Hugh managed to get an 80%
That's all right.
match. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah,
Thank goodness, I'll let her know.
you should. I
Just
will
confirm.
attempt to let Vanessa know as well.
Yeah, send her a message.
Yeah. It's weird how I got a better percentage with Vanessa Hudgens than you did with
I
your
do
wife.
imagine. They just know. They just know.
Yeah.
Maybe Vanessa will be on the next pod episode to talk
I
about it more.
I think she should be. I know she was there watching the
She
World
was,
Test
yeah.
Championship
Yeah,
final
she was, yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with Mick Jagger yesterday, I think.
Oh, cool.
Nice. I enjoyed that little not
Yeah,
great.
that's empirical evidence and cannot be
Disproof.
disproven.
I'll tag her in the podcast so she can listen to it, so she can hear.
Can you
Pick what
imagine if Vanessa Hudgens replied to a tweet or an
I
Instagram post about this bullshit?
should love it. What I love most about this is though, because I think our reactions to big ICC finals events tend to get more listeners. So I really love the fact that we're going to come from talking about a very good game of Test cricket and people who wouldn't listen to our podcast before to then suddenly hearing about your chances with Vanessa Hudgens.
Via Chinese
Yeah, of course,
zodiac
which is proven.
predictions
Yeah,
stuff.
I just love that kind of shift.
I mean, that's what this podcast is
That's
all
what's
about.
yeah. So if you want
That's this is
to,
exactly what I want the podcast to be. Like, and it should be with the name.
yeah,
It's because
yeah,
this is not cricket.
yeah. As you can probably tell from our analysis of cricket, it's very not.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if people have enjoyed that nonsense, where can they find us?
just not Crick Pod. Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, YouTube, podcast places.
Hell yeah, I think that was a great segue actually.
I
Um,
think that's the first time I got them all in one
yeah,
without
I mean, you did.
forgetting one of them.
It's almost like we've done two in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's almost like we've been attempting to do this for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And we've kind of got it. But I think that's about it. If you want to follow those places, please do. We'll be back, I think, to review the next Test match. No, we'll be back to review the third T20 between West Indies and Ireland
hmm
in the hope that goes ahead and doesn't get rained off. But if failing that, we'll be reviewing the first test between England and India, which starts at some point next week. Don't quote me on that.
I won't quote you on that because I
Okay, thank you.
zoned out for like 10 seconds there. So
And on that note, cheerio.